Okay everybody, welcome back. In today's video we're going to be replacing this bench top that I've had for many years, and the thing's been through hell, so we got to replace it. We're going to make it better. We're going to shorten it a little bit in width. We're going to shorten it a little bit in length to make it a little more manageable, because I don't need all of this extra stuff here that I had before when I had the vise on that side, which I never use anymore. I also had routed years ago some grooves here on this side for when I had a table saw. The miter gauge on the table saw would actually go through and pass the outer edge of that table saw. It needed somewhere to go. That used to go into that groove. Don't need those anymore. So I'm also going to be drilling dog holes in this new top in a certain pattern in there, but that's going to be a separate video because I have a special tool that's going to give me the CNC accuracy to do that. I'm going to show that to you later on. So let's get this top off and get the new one on there. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is break down this 4x8 sheet of plywood. You're only going to need one sheet of plywood to complete this table. Now you guys know when I'm breaking down plywood, I always preach in all my videos that you always rip a straight edge off the factory edge first, because you never have a good clean edge to work with, so you have to create your own. So I take about 6 millimeters off so I get optimum dust collection and have a nice clean edge. Now we're bringing in the star of the show. These are the TSO TPG parallel guides, and you've seen me in the previous video go over this whole system. Today I'm using the 50-inch rails on this because I need a larger capacity cut than the 30-inch set. Now the 50-inch rails, you may not use that much, but if you do a lot of custom cabinetry, then you will see that you're going to use them for upper parts of bookcases and upper wall cabinets and things like that. And obviously if you were trying to break down a full sheet of plywood and you needed a cut that was about 47 inches or 46 inches, this would be perfect for that. Now, once I have the guide rails pushed up with the stop blocks against the reference edge that I cut straight, all I have to do is run the saw along the guide rail and boom, got my measurements dead on, perfect size. And now that I have two parallel edges, what I need to do is cross cut the sides to a perfect 90 to those parallel edges so I can have a nice, perfectly squared off piece to work with. So I'm using my GRS 16 PE rail square, and I'm going to square up one side and then I'll measure off that square edge, and then I'll just run the rail square off to the other side and square it off perfectly. All I have to do is drop my guide rail right on my mark and butt the rail square right up to the reference edge of the plywood. I'll make my cut and I have perfect 90. Now the piece is exactly the size that I need and it's ready to work with. Move everything off to the side, roll out the old workbench top, and start to get rid of this thing. Now, just in case you guys didn't know, this is the base of the Kreg Universal workbench system. And it's a pretty good base, it works well, and it's easy to put together. I'll link it in the description, but I want to replace the top on this right now, so I'm just going to unscrew it from the bottom. There are a couple of little I believe they're 1/2 inch or 3/4 inch Kreg screws that go in from the bottom, holding the top down to the base. So I'm just going to unscrew those and then we'll rip this thing off. So I got all those screws out of the bottom. And this top, I had some screws in from the top because I had these planks underneath of pieces of plywood all jumbled up. It's kind of like a Frankenstein bench. I'm going to get rid of those as well because I'm going to be building a frame around the outer perimeter of the new bench. And that's going to only raise it up to the height that I need to make it pretty much the same within a millimeter of the height of the MFTs, since that's going to sit over there, and sometimes I will use it for cross cuts to, get the extra support that I need. Kind of like a cheater bench, cheater table, whatever you want to call it. So I'm going to take this top off now, get that out of the way, and you can see the underneath has all these pieces just like jumbled up all over the place. And so a lot of these pieces are still good, with the exception of these old dog holes. So what I'll do is I'll take these pieces, I'll rip pieces down off of that, stuff that I can use, and the pieces that are not good, well, I'll just toss those. Let's get that off to the side. That one's got some good parts to it. This one's got a little bit good parts. Okay, so you can see that the new top is not much different from the old top. So I'm just gonna drop that on the base here and see how well I got it to the dimensions that I wanted it. I have very little overhang, just enough for clamping. What I need to do is actually flip this over and build a frame with strips of the same plywood all around here. That's going to raise it up to the height I need. There's not going to be any sagging because this is completely supported by the underneath base. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is just flip this over so that I can start to put the strips around the bottom of it. Now those strips are going to be around the perimeter here. I'll have 2 strips on the end like that and then 2 short pieces right here. That's going to look something like this. We'll have a piece here, right to the edge. We'll make sure that we put a little bit of glue. We'll get it right to the edge. Everything is completely flush. Tack it in with some staples. Then I'll get another piece from here and we'll put that in over here. And it'll also give me something to bite into when we screw it in from the bottom. Now before I start attaching the frame, I want to make sure I cut a reference edge nice and square on one end, and then I could start marking everything off for the final dimensions. Then I bring the pieces over and square up the edge that I just cut, make sure everything is flush, come to the other side, take a pencil, and then just scribe a line from the underside, and that'll be the mark I need to cut my length to. Alright, so first thing I'm going to do before I cut the sides here is put the long strips in with just a little bit of glue, and I'm going to tack it in with some 1¼ staples. So flip this over. I'm just going to run a little bead of glue on the edges. You don't need to go crazy with this. This is a shop project and it's going to hold just fine. The staples alone give it a lot of holding power. So I'm just going to line everything up. Unfortunately, since I moved so fast like that superhero, the Flash, my camera went out of focus while I was stapling these pieces in. But trust me, that's what I was doing. Now that I have those pieces secure, I know they're not going to move anymore, so I find it easier to take the piece that, and these were the offcuts from long pieces. And I'll just make sure there's no dust in there. I butt it up against it, and I try to raise it a little bit up so that it hits like this, and it's just about level. So this way I know that when I make my mark right here on the other end, that I'm going to get it as close as possible. Now this doesn't have to fit too tight, so I'm just going to transfer that line right here onto the front, and I'm going to cut right on the line. This way I don't have to force fit it inside. We don't need this to be the perfect snug fit of the frame. Okay, so I have my mark here, and I'm going to get it up to my laser line. I'm going to bring the blade down, and I'm going to put the blade tooth right on that line. I want to cut right on it. And now I'll always do a quick dry fit. Make sure there's no dust in there. You don't want anything impeding you. And okay, so that slips right in. Perfect right there. Okay, so I'll just pull that out, put just a little bead of glue. Not crazy. And I'm just going to make sure that my edge is completely flush. That's it, everything's perfect. Okay, tack it in. I'll do the same to the other side, then we can flip this over and start to screw it down onto the base. Now, if I was afraid of sagging, which I'm not because this is not wide enough to really have that problem, and plus this structural thing on top of a steel base, it's not going to go anywhere. But the only reason that I'm not doing a center brace right here for sagging is because I'm going to be doing dog holes in this whole inner perimeter here on the other side, obviously, when I flip it over. And if I do put one here like that, and it does run into where the dog holes are going to sit, right here with the 2 pieces of 18mm plywood butted up against each other, they'll be just shy of 1.5 inches. The clamps don't do well with anything more than 1 inch. an inch is like basically it. So I don't want to have that problem like I did in the past. So I'm just going to slide it forward a little bit like that and start to flip it. Now I have it on there. What I need to do is start to even it out so that I have the perfect overhang on all sides. Get out folding rule. We'll just tap it a little bit in each direction. Now if you spent quite a few minutes like I did going back and forth making sure you have an even reveal all around, you don't want it to move when you start to put the screws in from the bottom. So what I suggest is just take some parallel clamps down and I'm just going to grab my impact driver and start to run the screws from the middle out and around. Take a nice straight edge, good known straight edge, zero light coming through there, nice and flat. So now originally I was going to cover up the edges here with some hard maple, but it's really not necessary. This is an assembly table. It's not a traditional woodworking bench, so I kind of actually like the edges of the plywood exposed on this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to chamfer the edge of the top of the plywood work surface, and I think that's going to be good enough. Now that I have the chamfer routed on all edges, I'm just going to sand the top lightly with 120 grit. Okay, so I'm going to apply a couple of coats of shellac. And it's basically just to protect the work surface from any kinds of glues that may drip on it and easily scrape right off so that they won't stick. All right, so shellac, you can put a couple of coats of shellac on in 15 to 20 minutes. So what I'm going to do is use a brush, just because I thought I had a foam roller, but I guess I'm all out. So this is a cut of the shellac mixed with denatured alcohol. It's probably about a 60-40 cut, maybe even a 70-30. And what I like to do with that is apply the coats thin and spread them out quickly so they don't get clumpy and start to mush up over each other, because this dries so fast that without the denatured alcohol, you really shouldn't be brushing it out over a large surface like this. It would be easier to spray it. So I'm just going to pour a little bit on the surface here, and then I'm just going to move it around with the brush. And this is the natural color, and you can see that I'm working it in all around, spreading it. And this is going to be all over the edge. You can see how I'm able to work it with this brush, and it's not drying as I apply it, and that's because of the denatured alcohol. Now, without the denatured alcohol, this section that I just did would already be dry, and as I brushed it, it would be getting gummed up right on the surface. Could also use a foam brush for this. The foam brushes, believe it or not, actually hold it a little bit better. They spread it a little bit better. Okay, so after the first coat is dry, what I did was take 400 grit sandpaper and just lightly even the whole coat out. Now I'm going to put a second coat on, but first I need to vacuum this off. Okay guys, so I got 2 coats of the shellac on there, and that, like I said before, was just a little protection from glue settling on there and not being able to peel up. This is going to get stain on it. It's a workbench, you know what I mean? It's an assembly table. We're going to be building cabinets on this and doing a bunch of different things to it. The maple top here, this is maple plywood. I actually got it at a great price, and it's 18 millimeter, and the underneath is 18 millimeter also, so that creates the outer edge to be just about roughly 1.5 inches, because the 18 millimeter is just shy of 3/4. 19 millimeter would be 3/4. There are 19 millimeter plywoods out there, but this 18 millimeter plywood was on sale. Maybe they were looking to get rid of it, I'm not sure. But whatever the case is, Turned out to be a great work surface for this universal metal base. Now in the next video, I'm going to be drilling out all the 20 millimeter dog holes, and those are going to be 96 millimeters on center apart, based on the 32 millimeter cabinetry system, which is industry standard worldwide, not just, you know, European measurements because it's metric. It's not just the other side of the world. Those are, believe it or not, standard industry for the United States, also 32 millimeter cabinets. If you look, most of your cabinets, they are built on that 32 millimeter system also. So we're going to be doing 20 millimeter dog holes. We're going to reference it off of the MFT style holes that are 96 millimeters on center. And I'm going to be showing you how I do it with this next tool that we're going to be using, and that's going to be in the next video, so make sure that you guys stay tuned for that. Okay, so all of the TSO tools that you see me use in my videos here now are going to be basically a mainstay. So if you guys see anything you like, anything that you think that you're going to be using in the future, please check out the description. I have an affiliate TSO link in the description box there, and also there is, if you look on the main page of the channel, there is an about section. If you click on that about section, I also have the link in there as well. Also check the description box for other tools that I use, and I will have those Amazon links. Those are affiliate links also. So if you see anything that you need, check that out. You're not going to pay any more for the tools. The company will just share a small portion of the profits with me, and that will help support the channel. So if you guys are going to use it, please do so through that link. Okay guys, so get ready for the next video. I'm going to show you how we're going to drill this dog hole system out with complete CNC accuracy. Okay, so everything's going to be perfect. We're going to have 90-degree angles. Everything is going to be diagonally perfect, 45 to each other. So we're going to go with that system. I'm going to show you how to do it. All right, guys, so stay tuned for the next video. I hope you like this one. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Give the video a thumbs up if you like what you see. I hope you guys are enjoying the shop projects, the shop builds, and also the builds out in the field, tool reviews and demos, things like that. So hit that picture of a notification bell also. That's going to notify you every time I upload a new video. All right, guys, I'll see you real soon.